scan your head? Like you're a cashier and I'm a bunch of bananas? I'm not bananas, you are.
That's not really funny to people who've lost their kids to this vaccine. How dare you be so flippant, man?
I want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week. Teaser.
After our previous video on this subject, a flood of comments came in asking for a closer look at the ongoing drama between Bill Maher and Whoopi Goldberg. And honestly, you were right to push for it. Once we started digging, it became clear this story is far bigger than anyone expected. What seemed like a small clash turned out to be a massive cultural showdown, less minor controversy and more full-blown Hollywood meltdown. This isn't just two celebrities trading jabs, it's a larger conflict where free speech runs straight into the rigid rules of modern outrage culture. It's comedy versus cancellation, reason versus reaction, and a tug-of-war over a society that feels permanently on edge. And here's the twist. Neither Hollywood nor Whoopi seemed prepared for Maher's cool, calculated, and sharply delivered response. So get ready. We're about to pull back the curtain on the drama, the double standards, and the uncomfortable realities the entertainment industry would much rather keep hidden. Let's rewind to nearly 3 years ago, when Bill Maher made this remark about
Everyone knows Corona is no walk in the park, because you literally can't walk in the park. But at some point, the daily drumbeat of depression and terror veers into panic porn. Enough with the life will never be the same headlines. And stop showing us this. You know, everything looks scary when you magnify it 1,000 times. Here's a pubic hair.
Bill Maher had clearly reached his limit with the non-stop media hysteria and end-of-the-world talk surrounding COVID. While everyone else was panic-buying supplies and broadcasting their loyalty to booster shot number 37, Maher was pushing a much less popular message: learn to live with it. His view was simple: adapt, be responsible, and stop letting fear run daily life. But that take did not land well with the outrage crowd. To them, Maher's emphasis on resilience and common sense was borderline unforgivable, as if suggesting a middle ground between safety and normal life was some moral offense. And right about then, Whoopi Goldberg stepped into the conversation.
It's not really funny to people who've lost their kids to this vaccine, or people who've lost family members or dear friends to this. This is what we're doing to protect our families. And you don't have to do it, but stay away from everybody. Because if you're the one who's not paying attention and you're coughing and sneezing, you don't want to then stay out of the public, man. This is not, nobody wants this. And I think he's forgetting that people are still at risk who cannot get vaccinated. People who can't get that. Little kids under the age of 5. Or people with health conditions. How dare you be so flippant, man?
That's classic Whoopi, always ready to jump in the moment someone says something that hasn't been pre-approved by the woke committee. Maher's great offense was daring to suggest that normal life shouldn't be treated like some extinct fantasy creature and that, shockingly, people might try living again. That idea didn't sit well with Whoopi at all. She went after him hard, reacting as if he'd proposed banning meditation and swapping it for dodgeball at a sensitivity retreat. But here's where it all backfired. Instead of sparking a backlash against Maher, her outburst actually fueled support for him. Viewers sided with Maher's pushback over Whoopi's unsolicited lecturing, and the reaction grew so strong that even ABC, the network behind The View, stepped in. Whoopi was benched for 2 weeks, a rare reminder that even Hollywood's tolerance for woke excess has its limits. Fans thrilled at the irony, calling it poetic justice. As for Maher, he couldn't resist adding his own sharp commentary, because if there's one thing Bill Maher enjoys almost as much as being proven right, it's making sure the entire world knows it.
Saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma, sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
In this showdown, Bill Maher played the lion, while Whoopi Goldberg charged in like an overconfident big game hunter armed with a Nerf gun and a whole lot of misplaced confidence. She went after him loaded with moral outrage and self-righteous certainty, fully expecting an easy takedown. Instead, Maher, cool, patient, and calculating, flipped the script. The trap she set snapped shut on her, leaving Whoopi tangled in her own contradictions. It's the usual pattern. The outrage crowd is always on the prowl, sniffing out its next cancellation target, only to end up tripping over itself. Like bad stage magicians, they whip controversy out of thin air and then stare in disbelief when the trick explodes in their face. Maher didn't just escape the hunt, he walked away stronger, while Goldberg was left with a bruised reputation and a 2-week suspension to think about how badly the safari went wrong. Sometimes the hunter becomes the hunted, and honestly, who doesn't enjoy a good plot twist? You'd think that might have been a lesson learned, but nope. Whoopi came charging back once again, and this time, she was about to make one of the biggest missteps of her career.
Holocaust isn't about race. It's not about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man.
Whoopi Goldberg set off a firestorm when she insisted that the Holocaust wasn't rooted in racial hatred, framing it instead as a general case of Nazi cruelty, as if the ideology behind it all were somehow incidental. The remark wasn't just inaccurate, it was a staggering misread of history, and it immediately drew fierce condemnation from Jewish communities and their supporters. The backlash was loud enough to rattle ABC's upper floors, where executives were abruptly reminded that The View doesn't exist in a vacuum. Unsurprisingly, the show itself took heat as well, because putting Goldberg in front of a mic while she fumbles basic historical facts proved combustible. But rather than stepping back, acknowledging the mistake, and offering a clear apology for both the factual error and the harm caused, she chose a different route, digging in and doubling down.
American experience tends to be based on skin.
Yes. And so that is what race means to me. Mm-hmm. When you talk about being a racist, I was saying you can't call this racism. This was evil. Mm-hmm. This wasn't based on the skin. You couldn't tell who was Jewish. Mm-hmm. They had to delve deeply to figure it.
His comment detonated a wave of outrage across the globe, with fans calling for consequences, many of them demanding Whoopi's removal for the second time during her run on The View. Once again, she found herself sidelined with a comfortable 2-week suspension, a reminder that even Hollywood's favorites aren't completely shielded from the fallout of careless rhetoric. That's the risk of playing the outrage game. Sooner or later, it turns on you. It's like stepping into quicksand. The harder you try to moralize your escape, the faster you sink. Maybe it'll make her think twice before rewriting history on live television, or maybe not. Now here's the surprising twist. Bill Maher, long cast as Whoopi's ideological rival, could have seized the opportunity and gone for total annihilation. He didn't. Instead, he took the unexpected route and extended an olive branch. While standing firm on his beliefs, Maher argued that free speech should remain exactly that, free, and that people shouldn't be punished simply for expressing their views, even when those views are wrong.
Whoopi Goldberg, who, by the way, I hope is still a friend, we can disagree with each other, should not be canceled or put off her show, as much as I totally disagree with her crazy statement. Free speech. She should be there. She shouldn't get a timeout.
Maher, ever the old-school gentleman, stayed true to his values even when it came to Whoopi. He didn't pile on while she was already taking hits, once again showing that he's not just sharp but principled. Now flip the scenario for a second. If Maher were the one flat on his back, do we really think the outrage crowd would have shown the same restraint? Please. They would have descended on him instantly, faster than a vegan spotting a free salad bar. The very people who lecture nonstop about empathy and forgiveness would have turned into a full-blown mob, rushing to cancel him before he could even finish the words free speech. That's the irony of woke culture. It boasts moral superiority right up until those morals become inconvenient. Then the rules suddenly change. The whole playbook feels like toddlers inventing new rules mid-game just to make sure they win. Consistency and principle aren't exactly their strong suits. So when they couldn't outmaneuver Maher from the outside, this politically immature crowd decided to lure him into their territory. Once there, they threw every cheap trick they could think of at him, including twisting his words in a desperate attempt to corner him.
I had a different question, but it struck me that in the first segment you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get
By
reelected.
now, you've probably seen this clip circulated a dozen times, so we'll spare you the full replay. But there's something important worth noticing here. The outrage crowd never attacks solo, they move in packs. Think of it like a hunting party. You might see one attacker out in the open, but the rest are hiding just out of sight, ready to pounce. Take The View, for example. Bill Maher was invited on the show under the pretense of promoting his latest book. Sounds harmless enough, right? Not quite. Instead of talking about the book, the panel treated the invitation as a golden opportunity to settle scores with the guy who dared question their untouchable narratives. What they didn't count on, though, was the fact that Maher isn't just a stand-up comic, he's tactical. He spotted the setup instantly and slipped around their attempted ambush with calm precision, making a group effort look far less intimidating than they'd hoped.
Had any doubt that I was right about the change that's happened in the left? Watching people protest for a terrorist organization like Hamas? That straightened me up pretty quick.
Just like that, Maher locked eyes with the hosts of The View and plainly explained why he refuses to fall into step with the outraged crowd. The honesty of the moment was almost shocking. You could practically feel the room stiffen. There was no hedging, no soft language. He went straight at the culture of constant virtue signaling, double standards, and manufactured outrage that now defines modern wokeness. It wasn't an attack on progress itself. It was a rejection of a mindset where progress means enforcing conformity and silencing anyone who dares think differently. The panel sat there, momentarily stunned, struggling to recalibrate. Maher hadn't just pushed back, he dismantled their framing with calm confidence, proving once again that he's not easy to corner. The bait didn't work, and they knew it. Bill Maher walked away untouched, but if there's one thing you can count on, it's Whoopi Goldberg still wanting her pound of flesh.
Should be against the law. You should not be able to lie to the American knowingly. What do we do as Americans to say this is not okay?
You'd have to say into the First Amendment.
Yeah.
I think you, the
First Amendment doesn't allow you to willingly.
When Whoopi realized she couldn't best Bill Maher head-on, she switched tactics, aiming at the very principles he champions: free speech, reason, and the right to question authority without fearing cancellation. Classic deflection: if you can't beat the person, try to discredit their values. She painted Maher's commitment to free speech as reckless, outdated, even dangerous, a play straight from the woke mob's handbook. But Maher, ever the debate maestro, refused to let her spin the narrative. Calmly and with surgical precision, he reminded everyone watching that challenging ideas isn't dangerous, it's essential for progress. The result? The tactic spectacularly backfired, revealing not Maher's flaws, but Whoopi's own.
Gave the commencement address at Berkeley, someone has to check in with the people who tried to have my speech canceled and make sure they made it through okay.
Bill Maher, ever the cunning lion in a den of hyenas, stood his ground effortlessly as Whoopi and her woke entourage hurled everything short of the kitchen sink at him, eager to cancel or deplatform him. They probably had emails drafted to every streaming service, ready to pounce, but Maher, smirking, unshakable, razor-sharp, wasn't just surviving, he was thriving. The irony? The very voices preaching tolerance and diversity of thought were scrambling to silence someone challenging their orthodoxy. Maher didn't just keep his cool, he used it to turn the entire spectacle into a showcase of hypocrisy. Some fans even argue that Whoopi should be grateful to free speech stalwarts for standing firm, given the cascade of wild claims and misinformation she's unleashed since stepping onto The View. Remember that bakery fiasco? Yeah, that one.
Seems to be a lot of talk about the dessert I requested for my birthday show.
The place that made these refused to make them for me. They said that their ovens had gone down, all kinds of stuff. Perhaps they did not like my pie.
Whoopi didn't exactly reveal the origin of the cupcakes, but leave it to the internet sleuths to do the digging. Turns out, they came from Halterman's, a Staten Island bakery that's been serving locals for over 140 years. Instead of just enjoying a sweet treat, Whoopi turned it into a mini-drama worthy of a Jussie Smollett plot twist, thanks to the bakery's response, which was equal parts polite and unintentionally hilarious. The owners explained that their equipment is practically antique, basically a historical artifact, and occasional mechanical breakdowns are just part of the charm. And, by the way, they had no idea Whoopi was even a customer. Their ovens don't discriminate, they just break down with impartial chaos.
People up at 3 or 4 o'clock every morning. The sacrifices they've made, the holidays they've missed with their families. To make Staten Island better, they have sacrificed for 145 years. And frankly, the people who defamed the Halterman family should apologize to the Halterman family for making stuff up to suit their needs. Not everybody wakes up every day and thinks about politics. A good business person doesn't care about anybody's pocket.
Once again, the internet pounced on Whoopi, calling her out for spinning a story about a small family-run bakery, apparently in an attempt to drum up sympathy or score some cheap political points. Seriously, Whoopi, of all the villains you could pick, you went after a bakery that's been baking cupcakes and cookies longer than most of us have been alive. Social media erupted, roasting her faster than a fresh batch of muffins, highlighting the absurdity of taking on a beloved little bakery. Ironically, she probably thought she'd seem relatable by targeting the little guy, but instead, she came off like the Grinch trying to cancel Christmas cookies. Moral of the story: never mess with bakers, they need more dough than drama. And does Whoopi ever learn? Here's a clip of her attempting to connect with middle-class workers who overwhelmingly supported Donald Trump.
Appreciate that people are having a hard time. Me too.
Yeah.
I work for a living. If I had all the money in the world, I would not be here. I literally just work here.
Now here's the kicker. This is coming from someone who once loudly demanded that liars should be thrown in jail, yet Whoopi Goldberg is caught spinning tales like it's an Olympic sport. Irony, anyone? The cherry on top, a Hollywood elite allegedly pulling in $100,000 a week playing the struggling every woman card. Compare that to the roughly $600 a week salary of the average American, and it's clear who's really out of touch. But wait, there's more. Sources claim Whoopi's net worth sits around $60 million, and she recently signed an $8 million deal with ABC to sit on The View, dishing opinions like cupcakes. Classic woke mob playbook: cry victim, twist the narrative, and hope nobody notices the glaring contradictions. They love convincing the masses they're just like you while sipping organic lattes from gold-plated mugs. Whoopi's version of relatability is like a billionaire whining about yacht fuel prices. Laughably out of touch, fans weren't having it. One wrote, "We can't stand you, Whoopi. Working women don't watch you. We're at work." Another commented, "This is why Americans don't need Hollywood elites telling us who to vote for. They're oblivious to the sacrifices most people make just to get by." Someone else called out the irony in her working-class shtick. $60 million net worth and an $8 million annual contract on The View? Oh, sweetie, you don't know what it's like to struggle financially. Maybe you need a reality check. And let's not forget her previous controversies. Remember her Holocaust comments? She only got a couple of weeks suspension. If she were a conservative or worked a regular job, she'd likely have been fired. Yet Hollywood lets her slide, showing once again how selective accountability really is.
Why do y'all need us to say this if we don't feel comfortable saying it?
No, it's not that we need you to say it,
Others
but I think other folks need to hear, because, you know, one of the things I'm sorry, I just jumped you, I'm sorry, but one of the things that we've been talking about is the fact that getting facts out through the media seems to be very difficult.
Here's a classic move straight out of the woke playbook. Line up as many celebrities as possible to endorse Biden, because obviously nothing screams qualified to lead a nation like a pop star or an actor who once played a president in a movie. The formula is simple. Slap a familiar face on a campaign, sprinkle in some melodramatic speeches, and voila, Americans are supposed to forget actual policies and vote based on which celebrity they like best. Democracy, clearly, is just another influencer contest. Enter Whoopi, who made a statement that raised more than a few eyebrows. She claimed the press made it hard for Democrats to get their message across, hence the need for celebrities like Charlemagne to endorse Biden. Really? Isn't that the same party that successfully suppressed coverage of Hunter Biden in the run-up to the election? Bill Maher didn't hold back, tearing into her for the sheer disingenuousness of that claim.
Is it appropriate to bury the Hunter Biden?
You're talking about the press doing that?
He's saying that's what they did, and that is what they did. They buried the Hunter Biden story before the election because they were like, we can't risk having the election thrown to Trump. We'll tell them after the election.
And we know for a fact that that's what they did?
Of course. You don't
but
follow
I mean,
this.
saying you know for a fact that that's what they did? I don't know what they did.
I know, because you only watch MSNBC.
No, that's not.
Yep, Bill Maher nailed this one. Let's be honest. How often did the media treat Hunter Biden's story with the same gusto they reserved for Trump's every misstep? Spoiler alert, almost never. Trump misspoke? Front page meltdown. Hunter Biden laptop? Crickets. It's like the press had a secret pact. Laptop? What laptop? Quick, show a Trump meme. Double standards, anyone? Watching this unfold was like seeing a referee call every foul on one team while handing out participation trophies to the other. Utterly absurd. Not only was Whoopi dead wrong claiming Democrats don't control the media, but Charlemagne also played it smart by refusing to publicly endorse Biden. Naturally, this didn't sit well with the vindictive Whoopi. Unable to let it go, she turned Charlemagne's next appearance on The View into her personal battleground. Goldberg sharpened her claws, ready to pounce and transform the conversation into a one-sided ambush. Classic Whoopi, always ready to dish it out, never quite prepared to take it.
They were calling Trump a threat to democracy, and they were saying that, nobody's above the law, but they were speaking about him. That's what they were running on. So when he kept saying things like, nobody's above the law, I respect, the jury's decision in regards to my son, he didn't believe that. But he didn't have to volunteer that lie to begin with.
I'm going to stop you for a second.
Uh-oh.
Only because you don't know that it was a lie. We don't know why he changed
You really think he just changed his mind over Thanksgiving weekend?
Whoopi seemed so desperate for her pound of flesh that she didn't even bother pretending to care about the truth. President Biden campaigned on the lofty promise that no one is above the law and vowed to hold everyone accountable. Noble, right? But when his own family played fast and loose with the same rules, suddenly exceptions appeared. Apparently, some people are above the law, just make sure you share a last name with the president. To Whoopi, this wasn't a broken promise or hypocrisy. No, he was simply an exhausted dad defending his kid. Enter Charlemagne, who refused to buy it. He stood firm, reminding viewers that Democrats have long claimed the moral high ground and should uphold it, even when the pressure is on.
Some point you get to the place where you just go, so I'm just going to follow the straight and narrow always, because that's what's expected of Democrats.
But that's their fault. They're the ones that go out there and they stand on this moral high ground.
Listen,
they don't have to do that.
I'm a Democrat. Tell me what the moral high ground is.
The moral high ground is nobody's above the law. I respect what the jurors are saying.
Kudos to Charlemagne for standing his ground in the lioness's den, but did Whoopi really just suggest that sticking to your principles isn't always necessary? That it's fine to bend your values whenever it's convenient? Bravo, Whoopi! You've just proven what we've been saying about the woke mob for weeks. They cling to moral high ground only when it serves them, but the moment the tables turn, they abandon it faster than the flash on a caffeine binge. Consistency isn't their strong suit. Flexibility, however, is practically an art form. That's why Bill Maher has always clashed with Whoopi Goldberg. Unlike her, Maher believes in holding firm to your convictions, even when the pressure is unbearable, even when it's painfully inconvenient.
Worth the pain? Is free speech worth the pain? And is it really painful? Is it really painful? If you don't like this guy, don't go to his lecture.
Bill Maher has long been a staunch free speech absolutist, fiercely defending what he sees as the cornerstone of democracy. Over the years, he's made it his mission to verbally dismantle anyone or any institution that dares to trample on that right, whether cancel culture warriors, political power players, or hypersensitive masses clutching pearls at every controversial remark. Maher spares no one. His sharp wit and unapologetic candor have made him both a hero and a headache, depending on which side of the debate you're on. Love him or hate him, Maher is unwavering, consistently championing the idea that free speech isn't just a privilege, it's a right worth defending, even when it offends. Whoopi Goldberg. She'd rather toss anyone she disagrees with into metaphorical jail, which explains why these two collide so often. One stands by the truth no matter the cost. The other shifts her stance like a chameleon, constantly adapting to her surroundings.
Jones, who is not my friend and who tells crazy lies about me, is thrown off Twitter, I think, and Facebook and a few other platforms. I think he's going to...
Thank God!
Well, if you're a liberal, you're supposed to be for free speech. That's free speech for the speech you hate. That's what free speech...
Maher's principles are genuinely admirable, which is why he's earned respect from fans across the political spectrum, a rare feat these days. With him, you always know where he stands. Whoopi Goldberg. Not so much. Her principles feel more like flexible suggestions, easily adjusted or conveniently forgotten depending on the moment. Are they still friends? Who knows? One thing's clear, their ideological divide couldn't be starker if they were hosting rival late-night shows. Maher is all about consistency and calling out hypocrisy, while Goldberg treats truth like a buffet, picking and choosing what suits her appetite that day. For now, both have holstered their weapons, taking a rare break from public sparring. It's been unusually quiet, almost suspiciously so, but with their fiery personalities, this truce probably has the lifespan of a Hollywood marriage. What happens next? Maybe they'll find common ground and shock us all. More likely, they'll lock horns again over the next hot-button issue that sets social media ablaze. Neither of them is exactly known for biting their tongue, so grab your popcorn and stay tuned. When these two finally step back into the ring, it'll be a showdown worth watching. Drama is practically their second language. If you enjoyed this analysis, hit like and subscribe for more deep dives like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.